The War Council's warning. General Zarvok of the Zorith Dominion stood before the High War Council, his armored form rigid with discipline. Around him, the chamber's crystalline walls pulsed with the cold, blue light of his species' world, an artificial replica of their homeworld's deep caves. The atmosphere was sterile, calculated, devoid of chaos. Exactly how the Zorith preferred war to be. Yet today, there was unease in the room. Grand Strategist Volnak tapped his clawed fingers against the war table. General Zarvok, our fleets have crushed a dozen human worlds, yet their forces remain as fierce as ever. We expected a swift conquest, but they resist beyond logic. The United Terran Federation does not fight like other species. Zarvok remained still, his twin hearts beating in tandem. They're a young race, unrefined. What could they possibly have that we do not? An unwillingness to surrender, another counselor hissed. Even their smallest garrisons fight to the last being. Their weapons are disturbing, primitive, yet effective in ways we fail to understand. Volnak brought up a holographic battlefield projection. The counselors turned their eyes to the last skirmish on Volland, for a human colony world recently seized. Zarvok examined the glowing figures of Zorith shock troopers overwhelming human defensive lines. But then, the projection shifted. Human artillery hidden in collapsed structures ripped through the elite Zorith units. Soldiers, confident in their energy shields, were cut down by high-velocity kinetic rounds. Zarvok narrowed his eyes. Plasma weapons should have disintegrated them before they could retaliate. Volnak grimaced. And yet they didn't. Our plasma dissipates in the planet's dense atmosphere. It is too volatile in extreme temperatures. The humans, however, use ballistic weapons, projectile-based warfare, centuries behind our technology. And yet, their weapons operate in all conditions. Another counselor snarled. Even their wounded keep fighting. They abandon precision for raw endurance. They are not warriors, they're something else. The room fell into silence. Zarvok did not speak, but his mind raced. This was impossible. No species in known space fought wars in this manner. The Zorith, like most advanced civilizations, believed in superiority through technology and swift conquests. Humans, however, seemed to embrace war itself. Volnak leaned forward. We need answers, General. You are to travel to Volland and inspect the battlefield yourself. We must understand how human weapons truly function, why they are so lethal. Zarvok exhaled, a low clicking sound of resignation. Weapons did not win wars, strategy did. Yet something unsettled him. The primitive weapons of a Deathworld species had already defied the Dominion's might, and he was about to find out why. The battlefield discovery. General Zarvok stepped onto the surface of Volland, his armored boots sinking slightly into the scorched soil. The air smelled of burnt metal and ozone, remnants of the orbital bombardment that had softened the planet for invasion. Around him, towering remains of human steel-in concrete fortifications stood as silent monuments to the battle that had raged here. His elite task force fanned out, scanning the ruins with handheld energy detectors. The humans had been driven off the planet weeks ago, yet an eerie tension lingered. Zarvok had fought countless wars, but never had a battlefield felt like it still belonged to the fallen. A Zorith weapons analyst approached, holding a human firearm in his claws. The weapon was battered, but intact, a projectile-based rifle, primitive by Dominion standards. The analyst clicked his mandibles in disdain. Their weapons lack elegance, General. No energy containment, no plasma infusion, just crude metal and explosive force. Zarvok took the rifle, turning it over. It was solid, heavy, built for abuse. Unlike Zorith plasma weapons, which required precise energy calibration, this device needed nothing but a pull of the trigger and a steady hand. Nearby, another soldier called out, "General, we found their defenses." Zarvok followed his warriors to a collapsed human trench system. His engineers dug through the debris, revealing something unexpected. Not just weapons, but an entire network of underground fortifications. These tunnels stretch for miles, one engineer muttered, scanning the blueprints left behind. This wasn't a defensive stand. This was a death trap. Zarvok studied the tactical layout. The humans hadn't relied on brute force like the Zorth expected. They had used terrain, misdirection, and patience. Zorth forces had marched straight into a labyrinth designed to bleed them dry. A sudden explosion rocked the ground. Zarvok turned as a Zorth soldier was thrown backward, his armor shredded. Another soldier stumbled, coughing, his suit pierced by shrapnel. "A trap!" someone shouted. Through the dust and debris, Zarvok saw it. A single undetonated human landmine, buried beneath the dirt. The humans had left their battlefield alive, but their weapons still fought even in their absence. The analyst, now visibly uneasy, spoke again. "General, we also tested their weapons against our armor." He hesitated, then continued. "They're kinetic rounds. They pierce our plating. Our energy shields dissipate plasma. But these bullets? They just punch through." Zarvok felt a rare chill crawl up his spine. Plasma weapons, for all their power, were affected by weather, energy interference, and battlefield conditions. Human firearms did not care about any of that. "They fight with reliability, not superiority," Zarvok muttered. The realization troubled him. The Zorth had always believed that advanced technology ruled the battlefield. But here, on this ruined world, the truth was undeniable. Humanity did not need superior weapons. They only needed weapons that worked. The unthinkable tactic. The Zorth squad advanced cautiously through the ruins of Volland, their plasma rifles glowing softly in the dim light. General Zarvok led the way, his senses on high alert. He had begun to understand the brutal efficiency of human weapons, but he had yet to witness their full horror. That moment came all too soon. A sharp crack echoed through the ruins. One of his soldiers jerked violently. A sudden hole punched clean through his armor. No energy discharge, no warning, just instant death. "Sniper!" A soldier barked, diving for cover. Another shot rang out. A second Zorth fell. Their reinforced chest plate shattered, as if it were mere glass. Zarvok's blood ran cold. No plasma weapon had this kind of precision. He activated his visor, scanning the ruins. The sniper was nowhere to be seen. His forces responded with a barrage of plasma fire, sending burning energy across the battlefield. But the shot struck only rubble and shadows. The human was already gone. "This is not combat," one of his officers growled, ducking behind a collapsed wall. "This is predation." Zarvok knew he was right. The humans did not engage in direct confrontation like honorable warriors. They hunted. A sudden explosion erupted from beneath them, a buried charge detonating in the rubble. Two more Zorth soldiers were sent flying, their armor torn apart. Then gunfire erupted from the shadows. Hidden figures emerged from the wreckage, using the terrain as cover. Zarvok's forces tried to retaliate, but the humans vanished before they could lock on. The realization hit him like a thunderbolt. They aren't fighting to win. They're fighting to make us suffer. The Zorth were used to calculated warfare, swift conquests, and technological superiority. But these humans, they turned war into an endless, grinding death. "Fall back!" Zarvok roared. His troops disengaged, retreating toward their dropships. The humans did not pursue. They didn't have to. Even in retreat, Zarvok knew he had already lost. When they finally reached the extraction point, the surviving soldiers boarded in silence. There was no victory to claim here. As the ship ascended, Zarvok took one last look at the battlefield below. The ruins of Volland, for stretched beneath him like an open graveyard. Yet the humans had left it laced with death. This was no ordinary war. This was total war. And the Zorth had just realized they were not the predators. They were the prey. The truth and the impossible choice. General Zarvok stood before the High War Council once more, but this time, the air in the chamber was different. The usual arrogance and certainty had been replaced with something rare among the Zorth: fear. He had brought no trophies, no captured enemy officers, no tales of victory. Only the truth. The war against the humans, Zarvok began, his voice steady, is unwinnable. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the council. Grand Strategist Volnok narrowed his reptilian eyes. Explain yourself, General. Our forces still outnumber theirs 10 to 1. Their technology is centuries behind. How can they possibly defeat us? Zarvok placed a human rifle onto the war table. The crude, rugged weapon looked almost out of place amid the Dominion's sleek holograms and energy displays. This, he said, is why. Silence filled the chamber. Plasma weapons are superior in controlled environments, Zarvok continued. But war is not fought in laboratories. Plasma is unreliable in extreme conditions. It is affected by rain, dust, electromagnetic interference. But human weapons? They fire in the mud, the snow, the freezing void of space. They never fail. A younger strategist scoffed. That cannot be enough. We still have the numbers, the ships, the power. Zarvok's gaze darkened. You do not understand. Their weapons are only a symptom. The true danger is their mindset. He activated a holographic recording from Volland for the sniper's perfect kill shot, the ambush, the explosion-laced battlefield that had torn through his elite warriors like prey caught in a hunter's trap. They do not fight for glory. They do not fight for territory. They fight to make war so unbearable that we have no choice but to leave. They fight as if war itself is their natural state. The counselors shifted uncomfortably. Zarvok pressed on. When Zorith's soldiers fall, we retrieve their bodies, honor their loss. Humans? He let the question hang in the air. They leave their dead and keep fighting. They accept death as a certainty, and because of that, they are impossible to break. Volnok leaned forward. Are you suggesting surrender? Zarvok exhaled. I'm suggesting survival. More murmurs. Some voices rose in outrage, others in thought. The Dominion had never lost a war. To acknowledge an enemy as undefeatable was against everything they believed. But Zarvok had seen the truth. This war will not end in victory, he said. It will end when we have nothing left to fight with. For the first time in Zorith history, the High War Council was silent. Zarvok looked down at the human rifle one last time. Crude, inelegant, eternal. A single thought echoed in his mind. The humans do not fight to win. They fight so that no one else does. And for the first time in his life, Zarvok truly understood fear.